Okay, so we are here. We are finally here. I have been wanting to do a podcast for quite some time, fellas.
When was the last time? Did y'all do one when I was gone?
Nah, man. We was getting ready to. We was getting ready to.
Almost.
I'm glad y'all waited for me, man. I appreciate y'all.
Podcast almost got defunded. Goddamn.
Yes, we've been holding this one in, but I'm excited, man. I'm hyped.
Today's going to be a great one. But I just wanted to start off. First of all, man, it's great to be back podcasting and whatnot. This is Real Talk Beyond the Headlines, hashtag RTBTH. You know, we can talk more about who we are later. I feel like we got to probably reintroduce ourselves, you know. Every time we take these hiatuses, man, back like we never left. But
yo, we busy. Got a lot of shit to do, man.
This is true.
It's true.
Yeah. But I do want to start off with a few words. And, you know, I don't know, like, what inspired us to do this podcast? What inspires me to put all the work that I do into it? I'm not trying to, like, you know, well, I do want to, you know, get a whole bunch of views and plays and shit, but I'm not putting a lot of effort into it, man. I need to hire, like, a social media intern, but why do I do it? I think this is a form of journaling. And we don't have to get into the psychological aspects or benefits of journaling, but it's beneficial for your mental.
Why not? Go ahead.
Well, that's because I don't know the research, but I just know.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. But I think there's certainly something beneficial about journaling. It meant for your mental, and I think podcasting is like that. And also, when you get to do it with, you know, the best homies in the world, you know, I think it's just a great way to, like, sort of record and document our lives. And down the line, it'll be interesting to listen to. But, you know, after we go viral, it's going to be different. But, you know, until then,
after
it's
we
like,
make it big.
Yeah. Anyway, just want to start with that.
That one podcast with the hot take that goes viral, man. Everything else gonna blow up.
Yes.
Niggas come to your house,
bruh. It's gonna be something bad.
Paparazzi catching you in the streets. Yeah,
he's the guy. We're definitely gonna get canceled, man. But it's all right. It's cool. I just need I've already, like, you know,
consigned yourself to that fate.
I've built up some protections from cancellation.
So I've been thinking about this, and we've discussed, like, that whole, you know, issue of, like, getting swallowed up by social media, and the real fucking cure to that is just continue to put out content. Like, nobody can, you know, don't let them silence us. You know,
yeah.
Fucking SoundCloud and Google and Apple Podcasts can't silence us. We're gonna find new fucking sound waves to put this shit out. So,
well, it's not.
I definitely agree with you.
That the thing, though. The thing is that we have jobs, and I'm still a PhD student.
Okay,
and I can't get canceled from that. So.
We got shit to lose. Yes,
I know, right?
Correct. All right. So, you know, so say wild shit within the guardrails. Yes, that is how we live until we make it, and then we could just Joe Rogan this shit and tell people to take horse tranquilizer. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
That xylazine.
Yeah,
that's my shit right there.
That's my shit right there, man. It's the ivermectin, man. You know,
yes,
you got to kill them parasites.
Yeah, but anyway, this is Real Talk Beyond the Headlines. That is the general gist of the podcast, which is, like, talking outside the lines a bit, you know, dropping some hot takes. And as we said, we are kind of busy. You know, we don't have to get into it too much, but, you know, Herschel, let them know what you do.
Yo, I do a lot of research for the CDC right now. Whole lot of drug shit, whole lot of gang shit. Not so much gang shit, but a lot of drug shit. We're looking into, so I'm really excited. I'm actually working on this cannabis analysis right now. That's very interesting. Got to make sure this part gets cut so it doesn't go to coworkers, but, you know, just in-person research, you know, line level data. It's very important stuff. Beyond that, I'm also a PhD student working at Georgia State University. Whole lot of COVID shit. That's kind of boring. I'm trying to move beyond that into some new interesting things. But yeah,
COVID
keeps me very
boring?
busy. Bruh,
I thought COVID was like
so it's a weird thing
of the decade.
It's incredibly fascinating, right? Because it's created this situation where, all right, so I have been working on this thing that's actually super interesting, where I'm looking into those rates have been impacted by, like, the COVID lockdown mandates. Like, not only has COVID, like, the infectious disease, caused a whole bunch of trouble and shit. That's the boring part. That's the stuff that I happen to kind of be working on with Georgia State. But I'm looking into, like, the expanse of how, like, this particular event cataclysmically upended society in ways that are like causing hella other stressors. So there are all these other factors that like lead to or that are associated with drug overdose, right? Whether they be like employment status or food insecurity or, you know, rural versus urban environment,
isolation,
or just other other socioeconomic mental stress, substance use disorder, all these things that are have been immediately impacted by, you know, either lockdown mandates from last year that carried on over into like people's jobs changing, you know, other political stressors of like different policy and mandates being changed like left and right. You know, people not knowing where their next paycheck is going to come from. Like we had 2 or 3, was it 3 stimulus checks? That's fucking unheard of from the government. Yeah. Like it's incredible. But so the ramifications of that are like still reverberating throughout like all different types of like public health. And one of those that I am finding really interesting is drug overdose. To give y'all a little bit of insight into analysis I got coming out, the cannabis research that I just mentioned, we saw this huge fucking spike, and it almost looks like a wave. It's a wave of like, we fucked up in initially kind of identifying these time periods as like early pandemic, mid pandemic, and then recent pandemic, and then the pandemic continued, right? We still in that shit. So we had to like totally upend these initial 3 periods to now we have like 7 periods up to all the way like a couple weeks ago of like overdoses or cannabis involved emergency department visits or like all kinds of shit. And it follows this pattern of like lockdowns where, everybody's at home and like you ain't got shit to do. Generally, drug overdose is a social activity because people use drugs together. But like now with, you know, increasing depression and all kinds of shit like that, I mean, we're seeing just crazy shit. And because there's nothing really to compare like this event to, it's all fascinating. It's all that portion of like COVID is very interesting. The infectious disease shit, fuck all that shit, you know, get vaxxed, do what you do. But, you know, and I want to talk more about the actual infectious disease part later, but.
Yeah, I know this isn't the point of this segment, but I mean, what is do you think of one thing as being the long-term result of COVID in terms of a broad scale public health? Like, how do you think, you have to pick up one issue that we should be on the lookout for, like systematically as a result of COVID? What is one thing that you guys are like, okay, this is like 5 years from now, we're going to have to, like, this is going to be some stuff?
That's a really good question. I would think that, well, one, it's fucking impossible to boil that down to one thing. Cause like I said, it's literally like all of the things, but it's what we've seen and heard on the news of like this expansion in the wealth gap, and wealth is a very good predictor of health. You know, I talked about it on one of our last podcasts when we first had the pandemic starting up, and I was like, yo, wealth, health, education, you know, get your shit right. And like, you will survive this. You'll continue on. But the pandemic has created this environment where it's become incredibly difficult for people to build wealth, to manage wealth. We talked about that fucking pyramid scheme that was popping up. I was like, yo, more scams like this is coming up. Crypto popped off. We saw at the beginning of this year how the stock market was like, yo, I'm wilding right now because people were like, yo, I need a fast buck. I have no money because I didn't have a job, but I got a stimulus check. Let me invest in GameStop. Maybe GameStop will pop off because I'm hearing and seeing about it and reading about it on the internet. But that's desperation. That's erratic. Stock markets are not good. You know,
You're so right.
There's been a rise in the last.
That's great. I mean, yeah, that's exactly. Wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it as that, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is what. I mean, you know, the economy and, you know, wealth and all these things are really some of the stuff that governments and societies haven't really solved a way to, you know, govern that properly. You know, there is no right way to do it. Nobody's figured it out. Otherwise, the world would be a different place. So I don't know. Right. If this is the main issue, we got to be really, really careful.
The other significant issue is like we literally deemed a significant group of people as non-essential. Like when they were literally labeled that and were like either go home or like you don't matter, like whatever it is. And now like. So I would like to get into this as we talk about more of the issues that I have on the slate today of like what to do when you have a million people who just don't have a job or don't have shit to do. And it's worked in the past for the US where like, all right, go into the military. We have this strong military and you know, infrastructure or build things or do this or do that. But now with the pandemic, we've seen, life is livable online. You don't have to, like, what do we need you for, like, at the job every day? Like, we're cutting all that out and you can just make TikTok dances. That works. That doesn't work for America. That works for China, where there's authoritarianism and it's like, yo, we can shut all this shit down and we'll keep you in these class structures. In America, where they identify basically this essential versus non-essential class structure, which, you know, let's be real. Yes, they tried to be ethical about it and be like, okay, well, these are healthcare workers or this or that. But it comes down to money. Like, whether or not you were able to survive came down to whether you had it before and if you were able to continue and expand your wealth or not. So it's really interesting how things are going to boil out. Yeah, the next, bro, I mean, I know Toon wants to talk about the upcoming election in a few years, but like the next couple of years are going to be pivotal for the U.S. and the society as a whole. Like, it's going to be wild very soon. It's already wild, honestly. And outside of just like news coverage of like, outside of news coverage of like gun violence and shit like that, like, yes, that happens and it makes the news, you know, blood makes the news, whatever. But like, it's getting crazy. Be prepared. Like, I don't think we really understand. Like, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg, basically.
All right, Herschel.
That's what I do.
Here first, man. Look, listen, you heard it first.
You heard it here first on the podcast.
Crazy, man.
You know, I was really just looking for like a brief introduction to what you do.
He asked me a question. My bad. I
get super into this stuff, man. You know, like I want to.
That's what the people are here for, bro. That's what the listeners are here for.
They're here to be educated, right? Like in a
I don't know about
way.
that.
This isn't school, bro.
I don't know.
It's entertainment and education, the two E's.
They're here for hot takes and a very measured.
I got some hot takes.
We're not making TikTok videos, bro. We're not making Snapchat videos, man.
Yeah, when we're making TikTok videos, we've fallen off. We're super washed.
Yeah, it's over with.
The podcast didn't work out when you see me dancing.
All right, man. Well, so I am also a PhD student, as I said, at Northeastern. My major is counseling psychology. My dissertation proposal is on October 19th, but we won't even get
turn
to that
up.
right now.
Turn up.
No. There's nothing to clap about.
Do you want to tell us about it? Is it? Could you give us
like
like
the most complicated fucking thing ever? Just like why embark on such a project? But I also find it fascinating. But anyway, I'm gonna try and keep it short because I'm not really trying to like do the whole spiel right now. But you can potentially track changes in the brain and the body with retinal imaging. The eye is kind of like a proxy for what is happening in the body and in the brain. Not an exact proxy, but with machine learning, which is what my project will use, perhaps we can identify some interesting things. This project aims to determine whether a machine learning algorithm can classify retinal images of people with schizophrenia and retinal images of people who don't, or who are healthy. And that's pretty much it.
Bro, that's fascinating. I'm almost
it's pretty cool, but it's also like
tell us about
the most complicated fucking thing. Is like,
it doesn't sound easy at all. I'm not gonna do my own research on that one. I'm definitely gonna listen to you on that one, bro.
I feel you. But yeah, anyway, enough of that. But I will. So I bring that up, and also we got to hear from Ehi. But I bring that up to say that I would venture to say that the effects of the pandemic are much more psychological than the infectious illness part, which,
100%.
Of course, it's been devastating. I mean, 650,000 dead in America, 40 or 50 million infected, probably more. There's probably more on both metrics. Herschel, I'm sure you can speak on that a bit. Actually, speak on that a bit. How much are we undercounting? Damn, you are interesting, Herschel. Anyway, how much are we undercounting shit?
So I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but for one, obviously I mentioned this at the beginning when we were actually we're still going through it, obviously, but like it's very difficult to assess a ongoing outbreak, right? Like it's hard to quantify. So one of the things that's kind of happened right now is that like we initially identified this first like exponential increase in COVID cases, which was the first like March whatever outbreak. And then there were mandates or whatever that kind of slowed it down. So different areas had different timings for the outbreak. It really kind of popped off January of 2021. And then a lot of stuff died down over July. through July into August into September. We're obviously currently in September now. I don't know what time we'll get this one posted, but hopefully it's still September. But we don't have data. We don't have accurate data right now. Everything is like super, continuously updated. We've talked in the group chat before about like not always getting data reported by states, but since the last time we've had a podcast, there was new policy changed by Joe Biden that all healthcare facilities will be, or hospital. This is specific to hospitals. There are healthcare facilities that are not, I guess, whatever. But all emergency departments will have to submit their syndromic surveillance data, which is essentially their near real time, like within about 30 days, like we'll have all their shit for all instances of whatever you may have come into the emergency department for. And that is very, very critical to being able, for particular outbreaks like COVID or, other immediate shit, they make quick mandates that are like, all right, we need this shit by the end of this week or whatever. But to have everything in that quick a time is, it's a monument to the success of like digital healthcare, right? Otherwise, we would never be able to do that and be able to act in a near real time. Like, yes, I know a month seems like it might still be kind of too late to do some shit, but like in reality versus like years and years, a month of like non-fatal shit where you went to the emergency department and lived, for all the death data, that shit takes at least a year, if not a year and a half to get your data back. So it's a huge step forward, but we are I'll say that we're accurate through August. I don't know what September numbers look like for real, but when I myself modeled the most recent July and August numbers, and we are seeing a linear increase in cumulative cases, which for everybody, that just means like the same number of cases this week as last week and the week before that and the week before that. Which is still bad, which is not, a great thing, but it could be like we saw in the beginning of the pandemic, an exponential increase or an exponential rate of increase in COVID cases and deaths and shit like that. And that's very, very, very bad. Right. Just because like that means that the amount of cases are increasing like beyond our control, essentially. So measures that are being taken are working. There's still people that are getting infected. Deaths overall are down, but like, it's going to be endemic, basically. This is going to be one of those things that like came out, and this happens. This is not the first time that like it's so weird that human beings are just out here in denial of just like, yo, man, diseases, whatever, I'm good. I don't need modern medicine. And we so quickly forgotten because we ourselves were not alive when polio was like actually fucking niggas up. When measles and bro, we had chickenpox. You and I and y'all. I assume y'all had chickenpox as a kid. Now kids don't have chickenpox because there's a vaccine. Yes, chickenpox wasn't killing kids, but it was fucking up adults in the form, like you said, of smallpox. So, but yeah, this immediate, health crisis does make me very interesting. But
now, smallpox is a completely different thing. Smallpox is so deadly. I think
yes, 30, but that's the version
will die.
Yeah, that's the variant where you're immune if you get chickenpox as a child. You build the antibodies, like people have discussed, of getting the vaccine, any vaccine really, and your immune system being able to fight off whatever infection. Your body is not as good at fighting off the smallpox vaccine or infection when you're older. It just is what it is. That's why they try to get you.
I think smallpox is completely different. No, I think smallpox is a completely
Are they not related?
Completely different. No.
Is it shingles? Is shingles the adult version of?
Shingles. Yeah, shingles is the adult version.
All right, well, fuck all these poxes, man. They need to get the fuck out of here.
No, the smallpox is like a people are.
Thank you for correcting me.
Biological
You're
weapon.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But y'all
shit. COVID is a biological weapon. Fuck out of here. And we will talk about it shortly.
Hot take.
Yeah, that's big facts. I got some shit on it. Once we get to some shit later.
Well, let me finish my spiel, Herschel. No, I'm playing, but I did want to say that there was a guy, like an Australian psychologist. I can't remember his name right now, but he published a book like 3 weeks before the pandemic really hit in 2019, called "The Psychology of Pandemics." And I haven't read it. I've read like a few pages, but like I think one statistic is like 1/5 of people know someone who's died or been seriously infected with COVID, compared to, so the number of people who have actually been infected and died. So it's like 1% of people infected, which is probably like 0.01% percent of all people. So the argument, in my opinion, for the psychological effects of pandemics and infectious diseases is like much greater. But anyway,
I saw a stat the other day, a couple of days ago, that 1 in 500 Americans has died from COVID. Versus, relative to 2019. It's not a
pretty
huge
incredible.
Right? It's like 0.2%, but still, right? That's still
a lot of people.
It's significant. Yeah, it can be. Yeah. And so that was an interesting book reference that you just made today. I had to look that shit up right fast. This shit was written October of 2019. Before the pandemic. So I might have to order this one on my fellowship dollars so they could pay for it. But
it's crazy, bro.
I would be interested in reading that.
How good is your business model where you write a book about pandemics and then you start a pandemic? Because you obviously started the pandemic, right?
I told you, yes. It's a fucking biological warfare. What did I just say? Yes.
I know, and he's Australian.
That man's
he's Australian, so anyway, we're not gonna go down that road because those takes are probably a little too flaming hot.
Not yet, man. We gotta ease the listeners in. We just gotta ease them in.
Tell us about yourself, Ahi.
So I'm an MD PhD, but I decided I didn't want to practice medicine, so I went into consulting. I can't
Slight
tell y'all too much about
Slight flex, sir.
Well, I try to do stuff that I feel will keep me entertained. I feel like, and I want to feel like I'm making a difference now. And I just felt like that whole pathway is, physician scientist, academic physician, doing lab research, seeing patients. That's definitely something that I believe people need to do. But I just didn't feel like it was right for me. I had one situation that kind of it rings true in my mind every time when I think about my path. But when I was interviewing for the MD PhD program at Emory, the director of the program, Chuck Parkos, he was like, "Why do you want to do MD PhD?" So I told him, blah blah, I like science and whatever. And then I was like, "And somebody's got to do it." And then he was like, "No, let me stop you there." It's like, somebody's got to do it, but it doesn't have to be you. And I was like, that's right. That's right. I don't have to do that, right?
Wisdom right there, boy.
I was like, he's like, you can do it if you want, but don't ever feel like that, right? You have plenty of options, and you should always know that you should do what feels right and gets you satisfaction, but also, gets you helping people like you want to do. So that's something that I always kept in my mind, and that kind of drove me to think broadly outside of the realm of MD PhD land. And so, I do consulting. I work with pharmaceuticals and medical products. Can't really tell you too much about it because a lot of stuff we do is super confidential. And
wow, this is a safe space.
No, it's not.
hey, man, what do we need to be investing in? Can you tell us that? Like,
that's
give
awesome.
us the inside track on that.
No.
Bro, just put it in the chat. Just write in the chat.
There's nothing there's nothing I can tell you, man. I ain't trying. SEC's out here listening, man. Dude.
Oh yeah, fans watching. Which I also have takes on that shit. Oh my god.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah. So it's really cool though. I enjoy it. It's a shit ton of work though. I'm constantly working throughout the week. I just you do cool stuff, but then it ends up at the end of the day, you're like living to get to the weekend. It's like, just get to Friday, 5 p.m. Come on, let's go. Because usually during the week, you're working much later than 5 p.m. And, luckily, so far, I've been able to mostly be off on weekends. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, man, happy to be on the podcast again. It's been a long time. I feel like I've been the reason holding everybody back. We tried to record several times over the past.
Out here getting that passport stamped.
Like, man. Well, I got like 6 passport stamps this trip, man. Just like stamp.
Bro, it's a pandemic. What are you doing? What are you doing, bro? You're an MD PhD traveling the world.
That, bro. Fuck all that.
I'm vaccinated. I got 2 tests.
Do you?
I got 2 tests. I got a rapid test and a PCR test same time before I left 2 weeks ago. Isn't that absurd? Isn't that a waste of resources? And it was free. And then,
oh damn,
we don't realize how lucky we are in the U.S. We get the vaccination for free. We get testing whenever we want. In other parts of the world, not like that at all, right? People can't even get vaccines. To get a test, when I was in Croatia, they were charging for a PCR test $100. Like $40 or $50 for a rapid test. And this is Croatia, where standard of living is not that high. I mean, it's not like they're squalor living or whatnot, but this is a lot of money. So think about it like that. So we're super lucky, but I mean, I'm not concerned about COVID in that sense. I mean, I take care of myself and, whatever. I think everybody should also take care of themselves. But if you have the vaccine, I feel like there's very low chance you.
Hey, you're not concerned about COVID? God damn.
No, not.
Do you know that COVID is ravaging our nation right now?
No, it's not. No, it's not. Herschel just said
that was my mentality in Vegas.
It's somewhat under control, right? I mean, yes,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Don't take me out of context. I didn't say that.
You said it's increasing linearly, which means that it's not getting worse than the last week. It's just consistent,
linearly
which is
like 30,000 infections a week or more.
That is correct.
Yes,
yeah, it's about. 30,
I mean, it's
about that.
I mean, but think about it like this: these are forced vaccinations, right? These people didn't want to get vaccinated. But eventually, it's going to be their time.
Whoa! Are we jumping to the new mandates? Are we jumping to these most recent policy concerns? Because we can talk about mandates,
but I'm saying that I see it as if you haven't gotten the vaccine yet in America.
Yeah, you're all right with the risk. You're taking the risk.
You're all right with being mandatorily vaccinated by catching it, right? That's a mandatory vaccine.
That's real.
No. Incorrect.
It is. That's
no, because people can get the virus more than once. You can get the infection more than once. The initial, just getting it appears to not. I mean, even the vaccine doesn't, stop you from catching COVID. It
so why get it?
Your
Herschel.
Okay,
you sound like Dr. Fauci right now.
Yes, I plan to. So I'm gonna be Black Dr. Fauci out here. Believe that.
There we go.
If you get the vaccine, the likelihood of you having adverse effects like ending up in the hospital or dying are significantly lower. The risk of hospitalization for vaccinated people is, I if I had the time to fucking Google the stat or do the stats myself, huh?
It's really low, this guy.
Oh, it's incredibly low.
Really
it's
low.
incredibly low,
Exactly.
Which is why when you see or hear about on the news that, oh man, 6 people who were vaccinated got, and it's like, bruh, 6 out of the 6 million? Like, come on, guys. Come on. Why are we introducing stats to people like this?
150 million, 200 million people have been vaccinated,
yes,
man.
But again, like to Tunde's point from earlier, the concern is not necessarily people dying of the coronavirus COVID vaccine, even the Delta variant, which is more infectious. It has a higher infection rate. It's the issue of people filling up hospitals and then other shit it's the same issue actually from the beginning of, like, if you can't get care from whatever more immediate shit, if it's, say, for example, a drug overdose, you go to the emergency department, you can't get in because niggas filled the beds up with COVID. That's or outside of a drug overdose, a car accident, which is much more relatable to all people because we all are in a car at some point in our lives. It's dangerous. Let's be real. You might end up in the emergency department for a car accident, and if the hospital is full because of this, you will have to wait. And we are all collectively more at risk, which is again why it's such a big issue for people to get COVID, because they are not able to assess. We can't assess the risk as just regular old human beings. It's not possible for the average Joe to think about like, oh, well, y'all told me that this shit's not really that deadly and that, I'm gonna be all right, or I'll just have a little bit of a cold or whatever. I'll be fine. Generally, there's so much I'll be fine that we don't assess like the real threat, which is the burden on the healthcare system, which the government and Fauci and people have been trying to tell us the whole time. It just falls on deaf ears because America doesn't really care about the healthcare system, at least for, the average Joe, for poor people here in America.
Yeah.
If you can afford the best healthcare, like your man Joe Rogan or whoever else out here, it's not an issue. It ain't no problem. For Cardi B, not for Cardi B, for Nicki Minaj, whomever, it ain't no thing. Because even though she ain't got health insurance, because spoiler alert, these artists, these rappers, all these people, they don't have. I meant to say Nicki Minaj. I'm sorry. Shouts out to you, Cardi B. I didn't mean for you to catch a stray there.
Wasn't it Cardi? No, wasn't it Cardi
those people
B
that don't have to.
Her cousin in Bahamas got it.
Nicki.
That was Nicki Minaj, and that was Trinidad. It wasn't her cousin, sir. It was her cousin's friend or her friend's cousin's whatever. It reads like a fucking Onion article. The Onion. It doesn't read like. But again, she's out here like, yo, I'm just encouraging people to do your own research. So again, back to your point earlier, yo, we don't need niggas to be doing their own research. Like, leave the research to the researchers and the scientists. And then you just follow up. Like, bro, I don't leave mechanic work to me. I go to a mechanic if some shit is wrong with my car. If I need the airplane flown to wherever, I talk to the pilot or I talk to Delta and, get that situated. This is one of those only things where we're like, nah, I got my health in my own hands until it's too late, until you break your fucking leg or you need some shit or da-da-da-da-da. And then you have to, you're in need of some expert. So it's one of these issues that we've lost trust in not just authority figures, but like our education system has basically failed where we no longer teach how to think and trust like sources in science, in that we once I'm switching meetings.
No, I feel you, man. I feel like people don't trust science. I feel like they don't trust anyone.
So one of the things
they know they don't have the capability to actually do the level of research that it takes. They always, because people always say, you see these interviews where they go on the street, they talk to these people, right? They say, how do you feel about this blah, 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 COVID or whatever topic it is? They're like, I'm not an expert, but that is always, and then they go into some random spiel about whatever it is that they have constructed in their mind. And then they really do believe this stuff, which is shocking, right? It's always shocking level of I don't even know what I can't call it even information. I don't know what it is.
Ignorance.
So it's ignorance. Right? It's willful ignorance, right? But the thing about it is, right, we happen to be of this generation, which is like literally smack dab in the middle of like the pre-information age and the post-information age or internet age, where like before, I don't know if you guys remember, but like when Wikipedia first popped off, nope. Anytime you were writing a paper, it was like, yo, don't cite Wikipedia. Don't read that shit. Like, it's all and now, if you want like quick knowledge on a thing, sure, you can't necessarily cite, but you can go and find their citations or whatever and utilize that.
Yo, that's like,
but
the
the misinformation
is Wikipedia citations if you're looking for the good shit.
Yeah, but so like the older, boomer generations who are like, yo, I don't, don't trust the internet. And now they trust anything and everything they see on the internet, essentially, regardless of source or whatever. Like, oh, it's written up in, because they're from a time where like it's in print. If I see it and I read it, they're telling you read books and you'll get, it's immediately validated, because why the fuck else would somebody write some shit down? Like, who
that they don't know about, that they
who
made
come
up
out here and go on the internet and tell lies? Bro,
a lot of people.
just real quick, man. That's like another thing I've thought of is how before, for me at least, I think a lot of people were this way. When they would sign up for social media, it would be like you give the least information possible because you don't want somebody pulling up to your crib, slashing your throat. And now it's just like fucking Instagram in the Bahamas or New York location. Everything. Go ahead and post my address on Instagram.
Yes, forgetting, again, like we've talked about, there's real consequences to that social media shit. Indeed. Niggas get blasted every day.
Indeed. All right, so I want to sort of create a story that hopefully will sort of indicate or represent the roller coaster of the COVID situation and how we've been receiving information. Herschel from the CDC and Dr. Fauci, y'all niggas. Anyway, can y'all remember in June when we went to Vegas and we didn't wear a mask one goddamn time and we went to the club and it was packed out and we had a good ass time, bro? I thought the pandemic was over. I was like, yo, it's over. Yeah, because that's what we were told. Biden and all the fucking people in the White House and the CDC, Herschel, and the fucking NAIA, fucking Fauci, Like, okay, take your mask off. It's all good. I got a shit ton of emails from Northeastern. We're done. We're coming back to campus. No mask. Get the vaccine. We're good. We're out here. And then boom. What? Vaccine mandates? Fucking.
Okay. There's two facets to that. There's absolutely two facets to that. One, as we all know in science and research, science changes. What we know, the information that's available to us changes. No, that's part of it. Bro, to be a good researcher, you got to be able to be like, all right.
Okay, I have one thing.
Either I was right before and then the information changed, or like I was wrong and now I'm right. Now I know more and I can improve on this. That's got to be the fundamental piece to it.
You're absolutely right about that.
I was wrong.
You're absolutely right about that. But I would venture to say that organizations like the CDC and the NIAAA, whatever the fuck it's called, they have to be right. There's no room for error. So when it comes to communication, I understand it's a pandemic, whatever, once in 100 years or whatever it is, 101 years, whatever, fuck it. You have to be right. You can't just be throwing.
No, I mean, Tunde, I get what you're saying, but you have to think about it like this. Even doctors and medicine,
it's called
all
practice,
these things that we hold as
we're talking about practice.
As sacred and correct, we find out stuff even though they've been tested and vetted and approved by the FDA. You find out 3 or 4 years later, after it's been released into the huge population, that there's no way you will be able to detect it with those means to be able to detect the level of information you need to make the decisions. And so at the end of the day, you can't know at the beginning what you know at the end of hindsight's 2020. This is very much the case in science. And the thing is that you have to always expect that going forward, you're going to learn more and more stuff the more you experience. So I don't think there's a reason to hold this against the NIAAA or the CDC or any other organization, right? I feel like it's full of people, and they're not omnipresent.
It's also
they're not omniscient.
Yes,
it's more have ethical to take in also information to that they have.
Yeah. And it's also more ethical to immediately admit, or then we're not even admitting we're wrong. We're just like, yo, there's updated information. We know more. So this is the new updated information and the new guidelines. That's what's happening. We take whatever information is immediately available and we make a decision. And,
what I don't
disseminate
like,
information.
What I don't like that they did recently is they had Biden come out here talking about fucking boosters.
Bro, thank you for saying
I was so mad about that, man. I was so mad. I was just like, you cannot come out here and talk about, you don't even understand why they use boosters. It's not even a booster, right? Like, I don't even know why.
Could you educate us on booster shots, Mr. Virologist?
I mean, I'm not really a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a
geneticist. And viruses are only DNA and RNA, right? So you're basically
they do
virologist.
You're the only one I see right now in this podcast with the MD PhD.
I mean, so yeah, well, that's but hey, guys. So I don't know a ton about immunology, but here's the thing. The thing about boosters is that you can expect for certain kinds of diseases or certain kinds of vaccines that immunity will wane over time, right? And so once your titers get to a certain level, titers meaning the level of circulating antibodies, and that's also correlated with the memory T cells. Once those numbers reduce to a certain level, you're not going to be able to effectively mount an immune response that would prevent you from getting sick. So you need to boost that, and then you get a booster, right? And so for the majority of people, that's not really necessary. So if you're going to say we're going to start broadly distributing boosters, I mean, what are you boosting for somebody who actually does have the requisite titers to prevent severe disease, which is what you want, right? You can't prevent anyone from actually contracting the disease because that's not the case. If you're around the coronavirus and you're fully vaccinated, you have a ton of titers, your body will almost likely, if you're exposed to a high density of particles, you're going to actually be infected. It's going to get inside you. The thing is that your body is then able to quickly surround and neutralize that thing before it becomes a problem, so it prevents severe disease. That's what you want, right? That's the best you can get. There is no force field that immunity, like it just bounces off of you. Like there's no such thing as that, right? So the thing is that with boosters, if you want to have a booster, it's for people who don't have that ability to mount an immune response when they have a early infection, which are old people and people with immunodeficiencies and other sorts of severe, diseases. And so those are the people who need boosters, and they should do that. And that's literally what they did yesterday. They released that 65 years and older and people with severe immunodeficient problems or other things like that are the ones that deserve these boosters because that's what it is. It's going to boost their immune response. And so that's what they should have had in the beginning. This shouldn't have taken so long for them to come out with this and create all this.
Why did
they created a lot of confusion?
Why did you just act like you weren't an expert in this shit, bro? Because you definitely spit like all facts and knowledge. I definitely thank you for educating us and the audience on that. But I totally agree.
Heard it here first. RTBT.
I mean, it's it's basic stuff if you went to med school.
Okay,
you should know this.
All right. Well,
if you went,
I didn't go to med school.
You didn't go to med school.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying y'all shit's supposed to know, but I mean, yeah, it's not like I know a ton more than somebody else.
But you do though. Anyway, look. So I will say this. I agree with you both that you can't really expect people, particularly in science. You can rewind the tape to one of our earlier coronavirus chronicles. We mentioned how science is always changing. The results are always changing. Your analyses and the conclusions are all. It's like a work in progress. Like you can go on whatever news show and claim this result, but we all know it's just probabilities. That's all it's telling us is what is probabilistic. We can't know for certain. Cause and effect is very difficult to ascertain. But I do think that there are some things that are just egregiously fucking stupid on the part of the institutions. For example, the situation with the booster shots. The government came out. They claimed to be all about the science, but they came out and said that we're going to make them available. And now you have the whole FDA fucking going up in flames because they,
people.
Another thing. We have latched our souls to what Dr. Fauci says. He is one fucking dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, bro. He works with a team of researchers. Don't act like he just happens to be a spokesperson.
What other people have you seen on television? Please name one.
Nah. So hold up. All the facts that they spit, all the data, all the numbers. You can run it yourself. Anything that I said I analyzed, bruh. So here's the beauty of all of this, right? All the data is public and available. That's what I said earlier. Like I ran an analysis. I did the. Yeah, they're not going to do it, but multiple people can. Multiple scientists
going on Facebook for their information.
Yeah, fuck all those people. They should listen to the people who are doing it. It's a whole team of people like me and other people at CDC, at NIH doing this.
In the minds of America and American people.
Yeah, fuck those minds. People got to tell them. Somebody and from our team.
We've been
Fauci. Them. He just happens to be the dude. Anthony.
And
Tony. Tony to God.
Look. Can you please let me speak about this from a psychological? No, I'm just kidding. But see, you have to understand, people are not sifting through information. They're not analyzing data.
People
are
idiots.
Huh?
People are idiots. Yeah,
yes, they fucking are.
It's so difficult like, to. Go ahead.
So you have one guy, who's telling us. So it's like we've created this image in our minds as collectively as a nation that Dr. Fauci is the guy. He's the guy that's telling us the absolute truth about COVID, and what he says goes. But now he's been maligned by a political sector. So it's like now half the nation is just going to completely box him out. And then the other half is going to listen to him like he's some sort of COVID god. So that's another misstep, is like you have, I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, but perhaps that's not on him.
Perhaps there's some aspects of Fauci himself. Maybe he's a bit of a, he likes the spotlight. Maybe he wants to be a little bit of a star. I mean, he's been in the game for like 50 years now. He ain't getting no fucking clout. Now he finally got some clout. So, he's going to step up and take all the clout, right? Clout. But the thing is that somehow he's been elevated to this point where he is the absolute last word on COVID. And he's not always right. And there are, different like people who are smaller in that lane. It's like we've turned COVID into media, and Fauci is one of the people. So,
all right, I feel you. I definitely feel you on that. Shout out to Fauci, the clout god. I appreciate that. But somebody has to disseminate this information, and it does help when it comes from a consistent source. It sucks that it has been politicized and two different parties have basically looked at the same information and decided two different things, though they're not even really two different things. They're just two different ways to handle the same problem, right? And that happens all the time. Like people just we're decision makers, and whether it's gonna cost people either money or lives, that often is the kind of line in the sand of like how particularly our two-party system decides to make these decisions, or votes. I guess votes is the third thing for Republicans, because their people happen to be dying out. So what they're trying to do is basically, impose all these policies that they've been imposing to make it more difficult to vote, so they can maintain power or to regain power, because they've kind of lost power for now. But it doesn't matter that it's just one person. I don't want you or anyone to get focused on Fauci. I personally be forgetting Fauci is the person that's supposed to be giving us all this information, because I just hear it from other places. Either whether that's just like, media updates or news or
you do
the stats, or I do the analysis myself.
See, Okay, well, on one hand,
You're
I
not
hear
the
you.
average person, Herschel.
I'm saying,
You're right.
You are a little.
But, so that's the thing. So I should talk to people. This is me talking to people on this podcast right now. Yo, get vaccinated, man.
Right.
It's the best thing for your outcomes. Like that's all it really is. Like you could choose not to. You take the risk. That's all.
Here's the exact. I completely. That's the thing I would say. You take the risk, but the one thing that we need to tell people more than anything is that the vaccines, they are safe. Nothing bad is going to happen to you almost at a universal
That's a
level,
wild,
right?
Yeah.
From taking
that's
the
probably
vaccine.
the wildest thing that's come from this. Yes. Like,
because they're not safe.
Why is there information about this? Bro, Tunde, don't put that on the airwaves. Bleep that out. Bleep that. Cut that part. Nah. We can't have.
Yeah, that's not even true at all. Like, yeah.
Also, how could they be safe when we're actually dealing with a pandemic and not an actual pandemic? How could they be safe for something that doesn't exist?
Tunde, what the fuck are you talking about right now?
9/11 happened. He's about to be talking about jet fuel can't
I'm just
melt
kidding,
steel
man. I had to
beams.
get my misinformation in there. It's so much fun to do misinformation.
See, and that's the problem. It's fun. Bruh, that Nicki Minaj tweet was hilarious. It was so much fun. I sent it to so many people on my study team. Yes.
Yeah,
No, I don't think anybody died. I don't think there was any like real negative repercussions except for the reinforcement of some people who already didn't believe in the vaccine. Nobody was like about to get the shot and was like, actually, you know what? Never mind. You know what Nicki Minaj tweeted about this shit? You know, maybe I don't want my testicles swole up. Even though literally 50% of all people don't even have testicles. So like, what the fuck does that even matter? And then two, this is the one case. Like nobody else. Like it wasn't even 10 people. Not even 2 people was like, yo,
people don't understand
I got the
stats.
shot. And then,
Herschel, niggas do not understand stats.
That's what I'm saying. They don't
understand stats.
Yo, but they
Nobody
understand
understands
stories.
statistics.
They understand the one-offs, which is a problem. That's very problematic. You should never be making no decisions off a one-off.
This is why I have been preaching for a decade or so that we need to teach statistics more than algebra or calculus or any
basic
other
stats
thing in schools. Because it's really a way of analyzing the world, right? It's super practical thinking about statistics, right? Just basic statistics. And we don't have that. And I think that's the reason why people make very stupid interpretations of data that they hear or read on the internet. Like they don't have an ability to actually think about data in a holistic and actual like analytical sense. They don't have a way. They don't have a way to do it. They've never done it. Nobody's told them about it. They don't think about it. So they just make the most random and usually the easiest decisions based on data, which is almost usually wrong because things are confusing. So we need to do something about that. I feel like it's part of the critical thinking thing I've been preaching about for years.
So Tunde, I think this is a problem for you because it is, I feel that it's a psychological problem where human beings just don't process data and information like that. Like we generate patterns, right? Like that's just in general how like from
heuristics.
Homo habilis and shit like that to Homo sapien, whatever. Like, yeah, we just look for whatever, looks consistent. Like back in the day, they'd be like, all right, well, I eat this berry from this tree and it makes me sick. All right, well, even if it was just the one time, don't ever do that shit again. So now, because we have all these freedoms and so many different ways to fuck ourselves up and do stupid shit, that people are just like, all right, I'm gonna just roll the dice until I see or hear like the one that's a scary story. Like, honestly, if Nicki Minaj's story had been like, oh man, I got the shot and I got acne for a day, or like something that was more benign than the inflammatory, outlandish, whatever the fuck she said, like it would have been fine. The fact that it was something that was like sexual because it was a sexual organ, like it all was just nonsense.
Your reproduction, which is that's like a
just hot button.
Human thing.
It's immediate to your psyche. Like we all just care about those things, regardless of if we're thinking about it or not.
You have to think about it. You think about it broadly. That's your fitness, your ability to reproduce. You got zero fitness now.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly right.
So even without information or any kind of data behind it, just the words alone, people, again, like I said earlier, people were reading that as like, oh, well, she must have validated this somehow. She must know this cousin, She don't know no fucking body. Like, are we really kidding ourselves to think that? But again, I don't think that tweet was that like, I mean, it was inflammatory or whatever, but I don't think any negative outcomes really came of it. Like probably more toxicity came from when Carrie Hilson and others were talking about like 5G at the beginning of this and just putting people in on a one side or the other. Like the beginning of this had a much bigger impact on how people are currently thinking about stuff than the present. And that includes Donald Trump and all kinds of other stuff of like, oh yeah, drink bleach and do this and that. Whatever the fuck they were saying, like those are reverberating concerns to what we are seeing today. So I don't know how to change it aside from overtime and, continually providing the same message from the same messenger. Shout out Fauci to God once again. But like, yo, that's what it is. And again, updating when we have more information. We could talk about Delta variant.
Here's what we need to do. I think a lot of stuff is messaging. I've been realizing that more and more these days. Usually back in the day when I was younger, I'd be like, just tell people and then they should know. But I think messaging is
how you tell them.
I think
100%.
As a sidebar, the Democrats do it horrifically, and that's why people don't like them. But I think in terms of Fauci, they should always preface this that we're coming out with new information because we have new and better data, right? We are able to do a better analysis now. We have more information. Here is why we changed it.
People don't give a fuck. On all the CDC websites, it's like, updated most recently, January, 2021. Like, niggas don't care
but they
about
need to give
that.
a reason. They need to say the reason why. I mean, saying updated means people don't get it, right? They're like, oh, so you guys had it wrong before. No, you need to say, based on the information we have now, which is more and better, we can actually detect these things. That's why we changed it. I don't think people get that. I think people are just saying like, oh, they're just coming up with shit. And then they're just doing it on their own. It's like, oh, they feel like this today because they don't understand how analysis works, right?
That's what they think.
I don't know. Potentially, it'll help a small percentage of people who are doubters, right? It won't help the majority of people because they don't read that well. So,
bro, I was about to say, man,
see that.
When you were saying that shit, I was like, bro, the right would dismantle everything coming out of your mouth right now. Like,
why?
Dude, I mean, I feel like to some extent that's kind of been a part of the communication. And I agree with you. Communication is a major thing, but I'm just like, damn, you can't ever get people on one side. You like, or to try to think of it one way, because everything becomes politicized. And I mean, word to 45, he politicized it from the rip. So we really, I suppose I take back some of what I said. It's like a gargantuan task. I'm just like, hey, you talk about, oh yeah, we ran a new analysis. What kind of analysis, Ehi? Why didn't you do this analysis before?
It's right here in the paper, bro.
No, it's not a new analysis. We have more information. Like,
why didn't you capture this information before, Ehi?
Because
you don't give a fuck about people who live in the South or who vote Republican. That's right. Why.
That's how people
you take adrenochrome in the morning with Hillary Clinton. Y'all just be shooting that shit up in your bathroom,
eating babies too.
Sending emails. Oh yeah, Benghazi.
Okay, Herschel, let me ask you something, bro.
Benghazi.
Okay.
Why can't they tell people that they can get COVID or the vaccine? Because it's the same shit. And he already said this. You get COVID,
no. It's not the same shit. No. Hold on. Stop. I don't think he said that either. So when you do get an infection, some sort of disease, you do get, and please correct me if you did say this, Ahi, but like, it doesn't work the same with all things, but like you can get COVID more than once. You can get other illnesses, other viral infections. Like this is not the only, like, yes, I made the smallpox example earlier, or the smallpox or the chickenpox example earlier, but like he said, in terms of the booster and your titers, what was that word? Trepids? What was the T word? Titers. Yeah.
Your antibody titers. So the level, the concentration, how many antibodies you have in your blood circulating, right? So that's what's going to bind and neutralize. So basically, once it binds, it blocks the ability of the virus to get into a cell and cause a disease. And then it also sort of gets it more likely to be absorbed by one of the immune cells that will detect the infection and then mount a broader immune response and say, rapidly, let's go take this out, right? So it'll activate your immune system to go after it.
Yes, and that varies from disease to disease. For coronavirus, for this particular COVID, I don't know which variant the first one was, if it was alpha or beta or whatever. We're now obviously on Delta, but viruses have different levels of the Terrians. What was the word again? I fucking forgot that.
Yeah. I mean, they have different levels of immunogenicity. So,
they
activate the immune system at different levels.
Immunogenicity.
So much easier.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
it's not an easier word. But I mean, they activate the immune system at different levels. Yeah.
But yes, you can essentially you can get COVID more than once. Like, yes, you will. You may have antibodies from getting the virus initially for at present, I think we're saying like up to 6 months, which is why they're advising that you don't get the vaccine until either 6 to 9 months after you've been tested positive for it, because we don't know how your body is going to react. So,
okay, so
yes, it should be, I guess, told that people can get it more than once. Like you can get it even with the vaccine. You can get it again. Like I said, though, your negative health outcomes, those other bad shit, that death, that hospital bill that comes with being in a hospital is going to be much more higher risk if you are not vaccinated. That's all. And you know, it's cool if you just decide that you want to roll the dice. All right, bet. That's fine. It's up to you.
And people don't know that it's the same for almost every other disease that you can get vaccinated for. People can still catch the measles if they've had the measles.
Yes,
I mean, it's
we're just
low.
reducing the risk.
Yeah, right. There's less chance of you having severe disease because people don't realize the measles is actually really bad, right? But that's a different story. So there's a lot of different diseases that we're vaccinated as kids and sometimes as young adults that you can still get, but it'll definitely mitigate to a very high level any of the negative outcomes. So you might be sick for a little bit with COVID, but you're going to get over it in a couple of days, right? So and it's not going to be something that'll put you in the hospital, and that's really the key.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that. You can get over it in a couple of days because it's basically just a flu. So just get it.
Wow! Stop it,
dude.
Stop
people
it,
die from the flu all the time.
No.
It's the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, look, I'm not trying to. Let me stop. I'm not trying to be part of the disinformation dozen. I'm definitely pro-vaccine. I got my second vaccine on February 10th, probably before everybody listening to this podcast right now. Like, I definitely. But what I'm trying to say, though, is like, okay, let's talk football. RTBT AIDS. That's our roots. We are. Originally a sports podcast. Now we're just a very like flaming hot take, word to the people, critical analysis podcast. Real quick, I just have to say this. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I love saying it. RTBTH, Ray-Bans, THC, blessings, therapy, hot takes.
Shout out to therapy. Shout out to therapy, man.
But Herschel, why? Okay, so like I said, sports. Why do you penalize Cam Newton for not having the vaccine when he got COVID already?
Availability.
It's the same shit.
He might get it again. That was potentially over 6 months
ago.
ago.
You can get it with the vaccine.
Yeah, but okay. Technically, yes, you are correct. And he might still miss days. Yes. But this is just an institution. Like overall, like we're all collectively trying to like make the shit go away. And the less you can make it, God,
see
the less spread there is.
There is a discourse. It's not completely settled on how protected you are. Correct me if I'm wrong. Based on the vaccine or having got COVID.
I don't understand. Is there a difference? I don't know the data. I haven't looked this up. But to me, catching the virus, live virus, being infected, and getting the vaccine is the same thing. To me,
for a particular time period. So it's measured in efficacy, right? Which is basically once you have, after like that initial period of either getting your vaccine and it taking hold in your antibodies in your body, or getting the virus and then, recovering from the virus, there's this efficacy period, which is basically the time period or the likelihood of you recontracting the virus or contracting the virus for the first time if you got the vaccine. Essentially, the rate for you of efficacy is higher in vaccines, which essentially means it's less likely for you.
So?
It is less likely for you to get it again. You can still get it again. You could definitely still get it again.
It's more immunogenic then, right? It creates a stronger and lasting immunity from the vaccine than catching the virus.
Yes, but the thing is still contagious, and particularly with the Delta variant, which I could pull up these fucking statistics, but like there's this essentially the statistic called an R value, right? Which is like its infection rate, like how likely you are to spread it to a number of people, like, and they measure it particularly by like a particular time period. Within a time period, how many people you passed it to that you potentially could have passed it to, of like the susceptible people around you, right? So for one, vaccinating people reduces the number of susceptible people so that you are less like there's just nowhere for the virus to go if you do have it and all the people around you are vaccinated and are still producing antibodies and whatnot. Yes. Now, the same thing does happen if you already got the virus. You are not susceptible for a time period, but we are seeing that people who have gotten it can get it again. So that time period of your antibodies, and it's not exact. Yes, again, it's a science. It's just a practice. Bodies react differently. You know, it may be that like with other viruses, older bodies that are not as, you know, immuno strong can be reinfected by coronavirus. So overall, it's just in your best interest to get the vaccine, man. You know, I mean,
Herschel,
it really shouldn't be rocket science. Like you can get it either way, but
the last thing I'll say is that, I mean, we should expect this though, right? Like every year the flu comes around because of mutations.
Yes.
This virus is constantly mutating just as well. So, I mean,
there are other coronaviruses that are the flu. Go ahead.
Yeah, that cause, you know, severe colds, etc., right? So we should expect that you're not going to be perpetually immune because you've been vaccinated, right? Like this is how biology works. Nothing is constant, especially something that replicates at the speed that viruses and bacteria do. They're going to evolve. And this is why like people need to have this sort of training in schools at a very early age so they can understand these very fundamental things. Like this is to be expected. This is not unusual.
Like, they should talk about it in health class, honestly. We talk about like sexual reproduction. They talk about like washing your hands and other shit. Like I don't even remember what else was in sex ed or health class in condom on a banana. Yeah, but I mean, we all had a health class in like middle school or some shit that talked about some things, but like they don't go into like, all right, just in case there's a pandemic, this is what you need to do. Like just be aware, just stay woke. It doesn't necessarily have to be that in depth, but like I mean, we should understand like, yo, if your grandmother is sick, you should avoid her. Like, I'm sorry, you love your grandmother, but like, yo, there's distance that's needed. We don't have to teach everybody about every single specific disease or virus, but like some basic level of knowledge and understanding about like how infections work would go a long way. It'll never happen because just like, you know, calculus and shit like that, it doesn't become relevant to everyone in schooling. Like there is a lot of school that's irrelevant to a lot of people, but now we are seeing the repercussions of not focusing on, you know, particular sciences and particular like critical thinking. That's really the thing. Like we teach critical thinking. All right, you're good. You should be able to you know, decipher and you know, solve the world and do whatever you need to do. Do your fucking taxes. They don't even teach, you know, doing your taxes in school. So how can we expect people to make like intellectual decisions about their health and their bodies when they can't even do it about their money?
Well, first of all, you know, perhaps you and the Fauci God are minimizing what people are capable of. I mean, from the very beginning, it's been like directing people with exactly what they should do, you know, and it's based on the science
thing.
Huh?
It's not a capability thing. I don't think I believe that people are incapable of doing it. I think they just don't have the skills and training, right? Like this is not something that's inherent. Like Herschel was saying in the beginning, we evolved to be able to detect simple patterns, heuristics, like you said, Tunde, right? This is how our brain works, but this is not how it works in reality, right? We can only decipher simple things by intuition. Once it becomes more complex than about 2 or 3 variables, then we basically falter, right? We can't really analyze it at a very good level. That's the problem, is that people don't know how to distinguish between those simple things that you can make a simple assumption about and where you have to think deeper. And go into it and actually solve a real problem.
I understand, but see, I do think that we recognize that there is one heuristic for people, which is very common, which is that the vaccine is sketch and shady and scary and unknown. Like we know that.
How so? Know that. What's sketch and what's shady? Tell me more about that.
It's not about the truth. It's about, like I said, the heuristic, the pattern, what feels right, the sort of like emotional processing piece of it. And people have processed.
But we get shots all the time.
Huh?
People get shots all the time. We've had to get shots before we've gone to public and private school of COVID, to travel to different countries.
Has filtered that out of their minds. Okay,
bro, they shoot niggas up that are in the military with all types of antiviral, Okay, so and now it's the same thing with everybody who's got a job that's mandating that you get the vaccine.
You're not about to just run up in the streets and start poking people with needles.
What that mean?
About, oh, you get
what
the
that
vaccine.
mean? America's already behind. What that mean? That don't mean shit.
How do you think
America is about freedom.
But how do you think
is it Tunde?
Polio? Right? How do you think they eradicated all these diseases, measles and everything? Like people are always like, you don't see chickenpox, you don't see measles.
Well, those diseases are devastating
because
people don't want to die.
But the coronavirus is devastating. I mean, it's clear.
It is devastating.
People have been dying from it.
But
it only kills like old people and people who have sicknesses, but it's devastating.
Why can't there be communication about that there is protection if you have had COVID? It's just like, get the vaccine or die. And look,
no,
like I said, I'm pro-vaccine. I'm not ready to get a booster, but at my 365-day mark, I might, all right, look, it's time to go ahead and shoot me up again. But what I'm trying to say is the science is not conclusive on that specific issue. And we know that people probably feel more comfortable just getting it. Look, for example,
whoa. You're saying that people are more comfortable getting COVID than getting the vaccine?
I'm pretty sure at least a good 10 to 15%.
I would wager that a lot of people that are in the hospital or in the grave would disagree with you about that.
We thank them for their contributions to Earth, but
to the data set, they contributed to the information that is informing decisions being made today, right now. Appreciate you.
But before they got hospitalized and ended up in the grave, they probably were of the mindset that they could get the COVID and be fine, and because their immune system was prepared to take it.
I mean, yeah, they thought that. You thought,
and there are people who have gotten it and recovered with their immune systems.
I feel you. So just like we said earlier, though, but this is a practice, and it's about risk. It's not about like, all right, there's nothing concrete about any of this, right? It's all likelihoods. It's all, each individual body is going to respond and react to this differently. We can only generalize to a great degree because we have tons and tons of literally global data, but like it's all still just generalizable. And sadly, because again, how the human mind works outside of creating all these patterns, to ourselves, it's all myopic. It's all, how does this apply to me? How does this affect me? How am I? The stock market is crashing, shit is going wild, but I don't have no stocks. All right, well, it don't matter to me then. It's the same thing that's happening like basically the hood and a lot of communities where like they have much more immediate concerns than COVID. And then all of a sudden niggas are getting COVID and dying because they were more concerned about like dying on the block than COVID or whatever. And I don't even just want, we're talking about black people here because we're black, but I don't want to just limit it to black people. It's happened everywhere in rural areas across America where they're like, oh no, I'm out here. It's, we're all super spread out and safe. And, this is my America and I don't need to wear a mask and I'm a good old boy. It's the same thing of like, oh, it could never happen to me until it happens to you or your mother or your father or your cousin or your, until it becomes 6 degrees of coronavirus, It is what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to die. It's not a death sentence. We all know that. We all agree and understand that. This is more about like mitigating like I said, the general burden on the healthcare system. Now, to do that, we have this free option that you can just come get a shot. All right, the shot sucks, whatever. You get superpowers and you get 5G in your arm. Come do this. There are literally, I have not seen adverse effects to that have been substantial to the vaccine. There have been a couple people that got blood clots, but I would love to see the rest of their fucking charts to see what their body was really looking like prior to getting the vaccine. And yes, we're dabbling in the human body. I mean, some people I could see how. Go ahead.
Check this out. There's so many medicines that we prescribe to patients where there's like 10, 20, 30, 40% adverse event rate. And some of these are severe, grade 3, grade 4 adverse events that we prescribe to patients every single day. And nobody's saying, hey, look, oh yeah, like I won't take these medicines, doc.
Oh, like, CDC, FDA approved.
Yeah,
fuck out of here.
Like the majority of drugs that are prescribed have higher adverse effects than this. At least this is what I've seen in terms of severe, long-lasting things that could actually kill you, right? Like a lot of drugs have much worse adverse effects than this. I mean, it's a thing where, that it's being administered in a very controlled manner. So it's not like they give it to you at home and it's like, take as much as you want. You can overdose. Like, you can't really do that. It's very metered. So there's a lot of controls on this, much more than any other drug that you could take, right? Well, I would say any other drug, but a vast majority of drugs, right? But nobody's complaining about, oh, the FDA approved all these drugs that are causing this. I mean, yes, it's a drug. That's why you're not supposed to take it when you're healthy, right? But this is much safer than a lot of those things, and it's preventing you from getting a much worse outcome. And so
right.
I mean, I just hate that people don't think about these things in comparison. It's like relative, analysis.
We do way more dangerous shit every day.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think, that's why I've consigned myself to the belief that if you, at this point in time, if you catch coronavirus, it is your fault. Unless you're like, a child under 12 or whatever, maybe under 18, your parents will let you get it because they're ridiculous idiots. I mean, then I can feel bad. But if you're over the age of 18, you have your liberty and you haven't gotten the vaccine by now and you end up in the hospital, you die, that is 100% your fault.
Yeah. And let's also be real and recognize, like, yes, this is a global pandemic. They happen once in a while or every 100 years or however long periods of time in between and shit, right? But like new viruses and like bad, infections and things like that pop up all the time. That shit is not new. They across the world, like MERS, MERS, is a virus that has been impacting South Asia for like, I don't know, 20, 30 years, some significant time. Literally SARS, which is SARS-CoV-2, which is a version of coronavirus, has been going on. Like, these are epidemics that have been occurring. This is not new news. People been wearing masks and shit over there. Like, infection rates go up.
In China.
Dengue,
They were wearing masks. I said masks.
Masks. Yes.
They've been wearing masks.
Yes.
I used to see pictures of people in China wearing masks, like, back in 2010, 2012. I would see pictures of China and I'd be like, oh, it's because of the pollution. They're wearing masks. But I don't think it was because of the pollution, man. I think it was because of disease. They were wearing surgical masks that weren't going to prevent you from inhaling whatever particulates they have in the air.
When you again got a billion fucking people just all on top of each other, which America is approaching, and like both America and China, our populations are aging. They're old as fuck. Their immune systems are weak. It was only a matter of time. It's like a fucking haystack and a lit match flying in that bitch. That's all it really is. And we just went up like that's. And we could stop it. We have like a little bit of water, but like, shit is still gonna kind of get singed. There's gonna be smoke. Like it is what it is. It's a process. This is one of those races that kind of just has to get run out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Unfortunately, people don't want to take the precautions to minimize.
Yeah, and by that I mean the human race is about to come to an end. Hot take.
That probably was one of the hottest takes.
Bro, 15 years. Believe that. Climate change and disease and political fucking swings, pendulum swings, it's a wrap. Literally, bro, 15, 20 years, dead ass.
I mean, we may have a huge die-off at some point from war or disease, but I don't think...
that's civilization. A huge die-off is basically us being like, all right, well, reset button. And then the elite and whoever can make it, us, hopefully, will continue. But like everybody else, it's a wrap for you, dog.
No,
that's
dude,
that's a new society.
The elite will be killed. Money will have no value.
We think that. We think that
skills,
bro. If they isolate and they have the currency to afford security, that's all it takes. This already happens. You just got to remove yourself to where you can't be reached. Bro, Bezos is going to space, dog. It's gonna be. It's nothing.
Live in space forever. They gotta shoot food up.
Yes,
all the time.
That's what science.
Blow up your little space shuttle zone. Like you can't.
With
shoot
what
up.
you got? Y'all got lasers. Starve. Y'all got space lasers. If I got all the scientists on my side and we all go into space, how you gonna stop us? What's your plan?
I mean, you have to get food up there.
We grow it.
You need people on the ground.
That's what we're working on. Lab grown meats. Oh yeah,
you're right though. That they might be able to do that.
Listen, all of this, yes, it's in the process, bro. We already, it's a wrap. I know y'all heard about the semiconductor shortage. Vehicles is gonna be out. We can't even make the new electric vehicles and shit. We going to space, bro. That's all part of it. I think that so another hot take, since we're mentioning space and shit, they're going to go and try to like mine asteroids and shit and hopefully get like, other precious metals and shit. And again, just, increase the wealth gap, become fucking space kings.
People need to go to the moon, man. Once you go to the moon, then I'll start being concerned. Like we're headed to the future that you described, Herschel.
But there's nothing on the moon. We're going beyond that.
No, but
so you're not impressed. He's not impressed by space. Wow.
That's proof of concept. Upper sky, as Jamal calls it, upper sky.
I mean, it's all sky if you go far enough. If that's how you think about it.
Upper sky, bro. I mean, no, man. You got to be like outside the Earth's gravitation. Like you need to really be out there for me to think you're in space, bro. Like you can't be just floating around where there's still some oxygen particles, bro. That don't do it for me.
See, that's outside. People said that about the Wright brothers. They was like, "Oh man, you just flew 20 feet, dog. Oh man, 20 seconds of flight. You're not about to fly from St. Louis to New York or LA to. No. You're not about to.
When people have been to the moon before, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I want to see Jeff Bezos go walk on the moon. Then I'd be like, yes, please. I salute that for real. Right?
We're going to Mars. We have multiple rovers on Mars.
Man, I ain't trying
drones
to.
on Mars.
Nobody's going to no damn Mars, man. Nobody's going to
Mars. See, goalposts. We out here moving the goalpost, bruh. That's all we're doing.
No. I'm saying it's incremental. I don't want to see nobody. These people. If you go to Mars, you're gonna die. You're gonna die there.
I agree with that.
And so it's okay if they want to do that. But I mean, I think if you go to the moon, you set up a proof of concept. That's cool. Right? Like, I know that, yeah, you could do it on Mars, but you start off on Mars, they will for sure die. Right? Like, why would you waste money doing that? So, okay. I mean, just let's go to the moon first. We'll see how it goes. Put Bezos up there. Get that other guy from Virgin. They go out, they start fighting, and then they come back. They're like, yeah, we did it. But until then, I'm not going to believe into any of this, we mining asteroids. Like, nah, you can't even get to the moon yet. Let's figure that out first.
Yo, I feel you. I feel you on that. And to take it back, of course, full circle to Tunde's original point. Yes, the NFL is on some fuck shit in terms of like keeping Cam Newton out the league. But they did definitely skate on this whole COVID shit like the entire time. We talked about it the last year, literally, but like they just continue to be like, oh, we just happen to have the perfect timing to where once cases do start spiking again, if we see that, it's too late. We done already planned this. We already sold the tickets. Y'all already in here. Y'all getting COVID. You just gonna have to live with that shit. You just gonna have to be all right. And we are. We'd rather have football and be in the stands.
They can all just start vaccine mandating for people to show up at the arena. I mean, the people may not like it.
And that's starting.
It's a possibility too, right? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of
starting, but
I
think it's
for them.
I feel you. That's an interesting proposal. I did this project on like the ethics of vaccine passports and shit like that, stopping people from being able to do particular things based on like their vaccination status. And it is ethical in particular environments or doses, or like you can't just like outright be like, yo, y'all all got to take this shot right now, right? It's got to either be incremental or you've got to make it readily available for some particular period of time and justify the potential risks of getting the vaccine, right? For right now, we don't see no risks except maybe I guess your testicles get enlarged if you're Nicki Minaj's cousin in Trinidad. Aside from that, I haven't seen shit.
Oh,
fuck out of here with all the rest of that bullshit.
Those people have a different vaccine.
That is also true. Yes. So we also don't know. Like he might have got whatever the fuck. If that's a true story. But we did also see the health department for Trinidad responded. And we're like, yo, this is an unsubstantiated case. We did our due diligence. We followed around. We asked around. Nobody reported this. This is some bullshit. We had to follow it up because Nicki Minaj has a huge Q rating. She's an important celebrity, whatever. So we had to look into the shit. But we couldn't find anybody who was like, yeah, my testicles was enlarged because of the vaccine. So because of that, we can't do shit about it. Science can't do shit about it without no cases. So I sent you guys this paper that I co-authored recently, the xylazine shit. Like, so what happens is the shit goes up, right? And we get metrics on like news outlets or Twitter, reposts or conversation, like people just talking about the research and stuff, right? So I was just curious, normally I don't do this or whatever, like, you just don't check the comments or whatever. Before this, I was like, this is kind of just a random obscure like designer drug or whatever. Let's look into it and see. And like immediately there were comments that were like, oh man, so y'all got this drug research right here, but y'all ain't asked the people who are taking drugs. You don't have any of their opinions. And I'm like, nigga, The people that went into the hospital, that overdosed, that had the problem, they talked to a doctor. That's how we know this shit right here. If you ain't talked to nobody, that shit didn't happen. That's it. End of story.
Yep.
If we can't do nothing about it if you ain't tell nobody. That's it. I don't know if you guys ever got in trouble like as a kid or anything. I would get in trouble sometimes or do some stupid shit or like not, prepare myself well because I didn't tell my mom or my parents like, oh man, I got this project to do until the day before. And then they're scrambling like, Nick, you didn't tell us. And now I'm up, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. trying to put a fucking, this is back before PowerPoint. We had to put like actual boards and shit together. I don't know what the kids do these days, but like I had to put some shit together because I didn't tell anybody that I had this issue. I had this problem. I had this thing that needed to be taken care of. If you don't like, bro, let's say you have like a fucking tumor on your back or some shit. You don't tell the doctor. Well, what can they do about it? What are we going to do? You didn't tell any scientists. You didn't tell some researcher to assess and address your problem. Fuck out of here. I don't want to hear about it. So for example, if you get COVID or if you let's say you decide not to get the vaccine or, do whatever, live your life, take the risk, and then you get COVID and then also you don't tell nobody. So one of the problems I will, concede this to you, Tunde, because a lot of people will get COVID and just get better on their own. It dilutes the information pool, right? If everyone who got COVID went in, tested positive, had symptoms, showed some signs, like there was some necessary action that needed to be taken, okay, then we would have much more, conclusive data and shit like that. But that's not how it works. We have only what we have access to, what people have told us. That's the definition of public health. It's not necessarily self-reported, but like at some point you had to, either you reported it or you died. And then the coroner came in and was like, yeah, he died of COVID. I can see it. It's on his face right there. I see it. That's it.
That makes sense.
Otherwise,
very interesting point. Hadn't really perceived that before, but it is like sort of like one step from the actual source of, of whatever you're counting, the actual like thing. Anyway, I feel that. So let's, switch up the tenor of this conversation a bit.
Well, we never understood. So wait, I didn't even know that they were holding him out from the league. Like, what is the situation with Cam Newton?
He got cut.
Oh no, he got cut.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He just got cut. I mean, so how did that translate to him being held out because of COVID?
Well, when he got cut, I think he had made it back to the team, but he was away from the team for a while, maybe up to a week, because he was in the COVID protocol. He didn't even get infected. He was just like around someone, but it's like the rules are so strict in the NFL because I guess they want to encourage people to get vaccinated without actually mandating.
He's already had the that's what I was like.
But hold up. To also be real though, he got outplayed. And he didn't want to be a backup. And they were like, all right, well, this also comes into play. Like there are other things, and he wasn't vaccinated. Like he's been playing bad. He's injury prone. He doesn't know anybody's offense to just go and start on a new team. Like that just, bro, that's not going to happen unless you.
I will correct one thing.
Injury.
Cam Newton is not injury prone. It's just that after 10 years or 7 years of getting destroyed by linebackers illegally for that long, I mean, you're going to be fucked up. Like no other quarterback takes hit. Like he's not injury prone.
Yes.
he's injury resistant.
Yes. He
he's
takes
done
hits.
Things that no one else in the league has ever done. I mean, even if he's not running, like usually he doesn't even take big hits when he's running. It's usually he's posted up in the pocket. He throws the ball, and then 2 seconds later, some linebacker blows him up from the back, and then they're like, "All right, Cam, get up." Like, what the fuck? I will always be a Cam Newton defender. Forever.
Bruh, Mike Vick used to not be injury prone too.
Right? Like they were the toughest dudes on the field.
And then he became injury prone
until after like 7-8 years of getting blown up and nobody calling no flags, so they just do it every play. Then obviously you're gonna be hurt.
I mean, to be honest though, Cam Newton was the one doing the blowing up, bruh. Early on, he was trucking dudes,
but he wasn't getting injured then.
It's his style of play. It's also his style of play. He makes contact.
Yeah,
that's football. And you can't age like Tom Brady. Fuck him. He's on PEDs and all the good stuff, but like, I agree with that. He doesn't take hits.
Yeah, but I think it's it's not the hits that you lay out. I think it's really the hits that you take while you're just trying to do your job as a pocket passer, right? Like you can't brace up.
Disagree.
You can't really
disagree, sir. That's why running back is the shortest tenure on the field. No, running backs get crushed. Bro, he's been running like a running back.
He wasn't running. Yeah, yes.
In the beginning of his career, bro, he was a red zone threat. It's happening. We're watching it happen to Dak Prescott right now with his ankle, with his shoulder. He's gonna and he doesn't run that much, but like they get inside the 20 and decide like, oh man, this is a great option for him to read option it. He's taking some hits.
I mean, you're right, though.
You're right,
because it happens to Russell Wilson. It's happening to Russell Wilson right now. I mean, he starts the season, he's real good. He's running the ball, doing all his magic, and then after like
body
game
breaks
10,
down.
He's just so beat up. You know, maybe like 6 years after Cam was in the league, whatever, he started to do more pocket passing, right? Like he was like, all right, I need to like elevate the game. And he was standing in the pocket, but they were just blowing him up for no reason, and nobody called.
Yeah, but he's
shit.
Also not accurate. He's not. He's trash. That
has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with this, though. I'm talking about how they would just let him get hit.
Yes, it does. If he can't get signed, it's other quarterbacks that are not vaccinated.
He's better than quarterbacks who are playing in the league right now.
Name 15.
I mean, there's 32 teams. Man, get the fuck out of here, yo.
All right, name 10. Name 10 quarterbacks that Cam Newton is better than. Actually, not better than. Yeah, actually, yeah. Name 10 quarterbacks right now that Cam Newton, that starting quarterbacks.
Andy Dalton.
Quarterbacks. Andy Dalton. I mean, clearly.
Debatable, sir.
Who? What? Oh man,
debatable.
Really? Is it because Cam Newton went to Auburn? Is that why you hating right now?
Yes.
At least we got that on the table.
I mean, the dude in San Diego. The dude
shout out Roll Tide.
Wait.
Roll Tide was trying to take an L.
Why you Roll Tide?
Because they just won today. Because I'm shitting on Auburn and Florida.
Oh, okay.
Both Cam Newton being a quarterback there.
Oh, I thought you were a fan. I was like, how are you a fan of Alabama?
I am a fan of Alabama. That's right. That Crimson Tide. Coach Saban.
Are you serious?
I don't know if y'all heard about this news. Yo, I gotta tell you guys about this news, man, because I know you guys may not be as much into college football as me. So basically, Alabama players, similar to like the Patriots and shit like that, they just don't get a lot of media availability. One, because they're college kids, and two, because Nick Saban just has like a super strong leash on these fucking dudes, right? So there's this dude, Jordan Battle or Jalen Battle, some shit like that. He's a great fucking safety and shit. He's a great player. He gets some media availability earlier this week. And they ask him this question like, oh man, so what are some of the, sayings that Nick Saban says that are really memorable? And this dude, he gets up there and he's like, oh man, he starts to give the politically correct answer. Like, oh man, there's so many, I can't really answer that many. And then he says, but with a huge smile on his face. And you got to remember again, this is a fucking teenager. This dude is like, well, he says he does a lot of, touch D's and, suck on D's. And then you can literally in the fucking video, you can hear the PR agent fucking die. You can hear their soul like jump out of their body to stop him. Like, oh my God. Like there's nothing they can do. But like this dude is making like these nuts jokes. And it's hilarious because this dude, Nick Saban, apparently like it's been known that he does this. Josh Jacobs. And I think another player has already said in the past that like, this super serious fucking coach is just out here like talking shit and relating to young people, which is part of why he's the GOAT and can fucking recruit any and everybody. But I just thought that was a really hilarious thing that this dude came out and was just making these nuts jokes.
That is pretty hilarious. Stuff. You know what else is hilarious? When they come out with the cheating scandal of Alabama for the past 15 years.
Nah, bro, they can play. They can pay the players now, baby. They can pay them legally above board.
Now I'm talking about
they got away with it.
I'm talking about fucking Spygate type shit because he does come from the Bill Belichick tree, doesn't he? For damn sure.
He does, actually. I think you're right.
So it's safe to assume that he cheats.
Legendary Belichick though. This was early Belichick.
Right. Facts.
You think Belichick just pulled those tactics out of his ass? He probably fucking grew up. Learning, trying to figure out how to.
Hey man, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, man. You gotta, by any means necessary, get ahead, bruh.
Yo, what is the deal?
What you gotta do?
I mean, You're into the college football game more than I am, Herschel. What is the deal with the compensation scheme that they got going on, or that's now
Okay.
it's not illegal?
Excellent. So this is new stuff, right? So essentially it's called the likeness, name and likeness bill or policy or whatever the fuck. It's called. It's about their name and likeness. Where essentially
NIL,
now they
name,
can
image, likeness.
NIL. Name, image, likeness. Thank you, Tunde. So essentially, they can now profit off of them being famous collegiate athletes because, as we all know, college football is a $1 billion sport or business. The NCAA is huge, right? And like in the past, players have gotten fined and lost their fucking Heisman trophies and things because they were poor college students and sold, jerseys or signed shit. It literally happened to Reggie Bush where they took his Heisman trophy away. I think it happened to either Ty Gurley or Nick Chubb.
To everyone.
I mean, but officially,
this guy.
Listen, they ain't got him in the commercials for Heisman House. How about that? He's not in the fucking Dr. Pepper commercials. There's no Reggie Bush. There used to be Reggie Bush. They got everybody else in there. They got fuck-ass Herschel Walker. I hate to see it, but he be in there with all the other dudes, Charles Woodson and fucking Baker Mayfield and everybody. He be up in there. So, yes, it doesn't matter because they took it, but also it does kind of matter because that was the policy at the time. It's the same thing of like all these dudes who went to jail for selling weed and now weed is legal, but you still in jail for selling weed from 1997 or whenever the fuck. Like it doesn't change for them. It doesn't change the fact. Though I don't know how many people Obama released for whatever charges, whatever. But like NCAA, the football game is coming back. Other like commercials. They can be in all these insurance commercials that make them $1 billion and shit like that. Before it was like boosters like, you need a car? Well, I'll hook you up. I have this dealership over here. We got you. Oh, your mom needs a house? All right, well, we got you. We'll figure it out. It was all, behind closed doors or just nefarious, basically. That's what happened with Miami. That's what happened with SMU, where they were out here giving people the death penalty and shit. So in theory, in terms of the game, it should make the level of parity more even to where it isn't just Alabama under the table, scandalous, like, oh, we're giving you a whole bunch of money to live out in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to win championships. Now your other institutions can technically compete if they're in some metropolis that have boosters, that have money that we can above board pay you to be in this commercial for whatever. So it's a different incentive for players. It's a really interesting, it's an interesting concept. This is obviously the first year, so we don't know how like it's really going to impact things. But this also, of course, I know we're talking about football here, but it applies to all sports. There are a lot of female athletes that have huge followings. The UConn fucking women's basketball team that is fucking epic and incredible, that dunks on, figuratively dunks on all the other women's programs. They can now, make money off of their success.
Right? In college, it's really big, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I think that they have not done, which, I mean, this is one step, but I think the thing that will make the biggest difference for these players by far is that after they're done playing, they are guaranteed up to 4 years to complete their undergraduate degree, right? Because that's the whole point. But doing Division I, even Division II, maybe even Division III, I mean, there is so much time taken away that you're supposed to be using to develop these skills, learn, do well in your classes, build a career or build a foundation for a career. You're literally unable to do that because the system is to make a professional player. That's what these schools are training you to do. And so you cannot have enough time to do something else. I think that they should make it so that they guarantee for these 60, 70, however many players, or even all of the collegiate athletes, that once you're done, you have up to 4 years of full ride to be able to complete your study. And if you can't do it in 4 years, because you've kind of already had some years before, so you already have an advantage, then you're out on your own. What happens much too often is that people get injured, they get into some trouble or whatever, and then they're like, all right, well, you're out on your own. Like, figure this out. If you can't pay, go back home. I mean, that's the most insulting thing. Yeah,
most of them aren't going to be professional, whatever the fuck. So
they should guarantee that they have the opportunity to have a career, because a lot of times they don't graduate, and then they just go back home to what they were before, and they they fizzle out and they end up in very, depressing situations. And I hate to see that. And I think it happens too often.
Just haven't watched the. Go ahead.
So if a player leaves for the draft and they don't get drafted,
yeah, they're no longer eligible to play. They can't come back and play. They can come back technically, and I think they are able to participate in school, but it is limited. Like you're like to attempt to go to the draft, you will need to be. You're just not going to be 19 years old trying to play in the NFL. Like that's just dangerous. Nobody's going to draft you. Like it would be a bad business decision for you to do that. So let's say you go to the draft and you don't get drafted. You can continue on that, and you essentially like are declaring to leave school, and you become an undrafted free agent. So you can reapply to school and they can decide to let you back in, but you no longer have any playing availability. So you cannot get your school paid for. You then have to pay to go to school. So often what happens is people don't start paying don't go back to school. So it's a weird catch-22 of like, it's not weird. It's a system like to keep these people in a class where they can't, benefit themselves. They're stuck. It's modern slavery. We've talked about it before. Now this new bill is positive because it puts money in people's pockets, gives people opportunities. I was just watching the Alabama-Florida game, and like they put the players and their majors up and shit, and it's always like sports management or communications or shit like that.
Those two master students,
shit.
Sports management, sports administration. I was like, these niggas about to become some coaches or something. I don't know.
Yes,
agents,
yes,
man. But agents.
Yes. I mean that anything is the goal, right? Anything is the goal, but like. That's all those things are lofty. We as niggas with like advanced degrees now know, an undergrad degree doesn't get you that far in everyday life these days.
It's a step on the road, though.
It's a step on the road. Yes, I agree.
You need that.
I agree. I
mean, a lot of our politics can be segmented by, like how people vote, how people identify in certain politics can be segmented pretty accurately by whether they got a degree. So.
Maybe what I even said earlier was a little bit too limiting. Maybe not even like they have the opportunity to have a 4-year eligibility period of college at that school, or they can take that money essentially that they've generated for these schools and go and get some vocational training or whatever it is specifically they want to do. So they want to be a plumber. I don't know how
in a business or something.
Yeah,
landscaping.
That's.
Some shit like
whatever. But they should have the opportunity to do something, that not only benefits them, but also benefits society, right? Like they should have that opportunity to do that. And I don't think that they do nowadays.
I want to go ahead and, finalize or end our podcast with some quick takes. I have a couple quick takes, but I want to circle back to something. And I want to ask Ehi something. I want to ask you something, Ehi. So you say that our nation does not have a good foundation of teaching people critical thinking, statistical analysis, how to think probabilistically. Mm-hmm. But you went to fucking public school. I went to public school, and Herschel went to public school. So what the fuck happened there, Ehi? How did we learn it, Ehi?
No, so there's different. So people have different exposures in their life, right? We just were having to be exposed. We also have a scientific bent, right? We're scientists, right? And there's people who are attracted to that kind of lifestyle. It's not just a career, right? Like you think about the things that you think about in your job are things that you were already thinking about in real life, right? You use those concepts broadly across everything you do. So this is something that we didn't just say, oh yeah, like I had to go and like sit down and read a book on critical thinking. It's kind of inherent in what you're interested in. Now, if that doesn't come naturally to you, you should have the opportunity to be exposed to that kind of thinking. You should be forced to be exposed to that kind of thinking, because going forward, if you don't have it, it sets you at a significant disadvantage in every aspect of life, and your ability to even, advance in your career, socioeconomic mobility, all these things are just inherently impinged on that level of thinking. And so I think we're not doing that. Where our school system is really just built to produce people who can show up to work, do what they're told, go home, have kids, make sure they don't die, and then the kids will do the same thing. right? This
Well, that's
what it's
pretty
built
good,
to
isn't
do.
it?
The government
No.
doesn't want you to think critically. They want you to get in line. That's what they want you to do. They want you to pay your taxes. They want you to get a job that pays taxes. That's it. Fuck all the rest. If you join the military, particularly for America, that would be the best. But I'm gonna have to save those takes for the next podcast because I know we're wrapping up here. But I got some fire because there are government institutions that invest in these scientific, like these youth programs, these academies and shit like that. I'm gonna have to wait. That's a teaser for next time, bro. Because it's got the NSA, it's got CIA, it's got. Oh my God, bro. I got so many links and comments and stats for y'all. Oh my God. I'm so excited for the next podcast.
Man,
I think the point, I think just to wrap up this thing, my point on this is that I think what you're getting at is that there's no incentive for the government to push this. And I would argue that there is, but I can also see the other side of the coin where, yes, I mean, you want to have people who just generate revenue for your empire, right? Which is what taxes essentially are. I think we've gotten to a point in the world where the U.S. needs to be able to produce skilled labor and people who can think at a higher level, because we cannot continue doing menial labor and compete with the Chinas of the world, right? We need to be able to, because they have way more people, so they can have, if they have the same percentage of high level critical thinkers that we have, say 20%, they have 3 times as many of those people than we do. So I think it is incumbent on us to be able to develop that same number of people. Everybody doesn't have to do that, right? Because some people don't want to, whatever. It doesn't fit in their psyche. That's fine. But I think we should give people the opportunity to do so because, in the long term, it benefits us.
I would say that, first of all, on one hand, you're talking about us having predispositions, which I don't disagree with, but not everyone is going to have that predisposition. So if they don't, is public school capable of teaching them at some level? Which I would say yes, because we went to public school. So, I'm just like, I feel you. And I'm not trying to like really, pull hairs here, but I'm just like, I don't think that you could just roll out some sort of like critical thinking, like curriculum.
It's not a critical. I mean, essentially it is, but I think it's forcing kids to think outside the box and not just saying, just memorize these things and regurgitate. I think there's just like, you have one project a year where you have to do something creative and you have to think outside the box and, do something and analyze problem. I mean, it could be something simple as how you do math problems, right? It's like, you need to be able to reason. It's not really about getting to a specific answer. Because oftentimes in real life, as we all know in our science world, there is no one answer. And I don't think people are comfortable with that because in real life, I mean, in the life that they've been exposed to in school, they've always been one answer. And so they think that once Fauci says one thing today, then that's the only thing that there is, right? Because they don't know that this is an iterative process. They just know that. So it's just like the exposure. People need to be exposed and have examples in their mind. Even if they're not the ones doing it every day, they need to be able to understand that this is the process and this is real and this is how the world works. And you should not, assume that you can just show up and do your own Facebook analysis and make decisions. Like there's people who do this for a living. This is a real job. And these people spent their whole lives getting to this point to be able to do this. And so I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know how exactly. I'm not an educator. I don't have the skills to build this curriculum, but I think this is something we have to think about going forward.
Nah, man, it's you can't upset the status quo. It's the same reason they didn't like Galileo teaching that the Earth is flat. The fucking church was definitely like, nah, bruh. Or that the Earth is round. Like it's all.
We got a regular
Kyrie
Kyrie
doing disinformation,
Irving
bro.
We got a Kyrie Irving here.
You're right. My bad.
A couple quick takes for y'all. First quick take. This is a very quick one. We don't have to get into this, but I got to say it because he said Facebook analysis. But Facebook needs to be disbanded. It's a fucking monopoly. It's doing all types of anti-competitive stuff. It's what are those lawsuits that the government brings? It's antitrust. It's a matter of antitrust and the fabrics of society. Facebook is destroying the earth. Word to the Facebook Files by the Wall Street Journal. Also, an ugly truth. Say what?
I need to read that. I saw that pop up on my phone. They
have a podcast for each one, so you can listen to the podcast on the Journal, which is a podcast, which is not as good as this podcast, but it's a podcast you could listen to technically. But yeah, and then also the An Ugly Truth by Shira Frankel and Cecilia Kang. They're New York Times journalists, I think. I listened to the audiobook for that, and that shit fucking blew my mind, man. Facebook is a behemoth, and it's led by a fucking, I don't want to go too in on Mark Zuckerberg, but he's I don't think that he is as smart as he might think he is. I feel like he might think that he knows how people act and how like computers are going to be integrated in society. I don't think he knows shit. I think he's doing shit on the fly and it's fucking our nation up. Second quick take. I think despite my having voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary in 2020, I think Biden is actually a decent president. And I was definitely down on Biden. I did neuropsych assessments for a year. And if I had to be real, I did neuropsych assessments with people who were presented with memory problems. If I had to keep it real, I think that there's been some decline. Probably not dementia. Probably not even mild cognitive. Well, maybe that. But I'm not trying to diagnose the dude. Obviously, I'm probably gonna have to take that part out. I don't think my supervisors and my advisor would be too happy with that. But he comes on television. He's very straight and calm and forward with the nation, which is a far cry from Trump. And also he's doing things that are not very popular, but probably in our best interest, probably because he doesn't have to think too much about being reelected. Coming out of that Afghanistan, I think the way it happened was quite, sad and tragic.
Yeah, we get to respond to these quick takes, right?
Yeah.
And he gave nuclear subs to Australia to counter.
Oh, yeah.
We need to talk about that.
He's actually doing something about
that's real.
The
moves,
CCP.
Man.
Yeah, that's a move against China, big time. I don't know if I should say you love to see it because I might be on that China wave because listen, we talked about this in the group chat. I fuck with democracy, but we are wilding if we think democracy is undefeated. That's what I want to say. And the way that decisions are being made, no, it is not, bruh.
No, it's not.
Rome was a democracy, and now the Roman Empire is.
It was an empire.
Okay, name another.
No. Rome was a republic / democracy, and then guess what? Julius Caesar, who we all celebrate, made it into a dictatorship. They killed him, but then everyone after him
was just a standard at that point.
Yeah, so in reality, a lot of these major civilizations were dictatorships of some sort.
And listen, we're on that path.
A beacon of difference.
After fucking 9/11, where they made all these mandates to be able to reach into our phone and listen to us, and NSA, fuck up this podcast so that we couldn't actually put it out because I know y'all listening, motherfuckers. That's real. They do have control. Every time there's some type of crisis or some kind of event that is literal terrorism, there's some government response and reaction that takes away freedoms in the interest of general safety. And however they decide that general safety is, now we all got to get super body scanned and whatnot. It's the full shit every time. They know all your business and whatever you coming in with, and that's it. And either you go into the thing, you have the option of not going, or you can stay your ass at home, or you can be rich and afford to go in the back entrance and nobody ever says anything to you. So again, that's the, aristocracy that we live in.
It is indeed. But, might be a hot take, might not be a very popular take, but I think Biden is decent, man. I mean, he's doing the dirty work of our nation.
I agree.
And he's also, he's kind of not a great politician. Like, he's ran for the presidency a number of times, and he's had like a bunch of gaffes politically, but
he fell on the stairs and I was nervous. He fell on the stairs up the plane. He fell like twice, and I was like, oh no, this is it. We're about to get invaded tomorrow, bruh. This is, whoa.
Nah, man. I mean, the thing is that Biden is, I don't know if I would say that Biden himself is as capable as he used to be. I think everyone can probably agree that he's not as capable as he used to be, but I think he still has the ability, a very good faculty to recruit those who can support him, the right people. I think he's doing a good job because he has that ability, right? And he's done that, and he's put the right people in the right positions. I think, aside from Trump being just a lunatic, he also did not have that ability. He doesn't know who the right people are, so he just picked his friends and people who his friends knew, and those people are not smart, and so that's why things went to shit, right? And so once you have somebody who's a career politician, unfortunately, I don't know how I feel about career politicians. I'm plus minus on that, but I think that is the inherent advantage of being a politician, that you don't have to know everything, but you need to know who the right people are, and they do.
Agreed.
And that's why I think you're saying Biden is doing a pretty decent job, because at the end of the day, he has those core politician skills, which is all you need, essentially, I guess.
Yeah, and I thought about this once. I think about it often. I mean, what is the actual thing that politicians do? All they do is make decisions. They don't gotta run analyses. They ain't gotta. I mean, I'm sure they read a lot, but they're not collecting data. They're not, running fucking plots on R and shit.
They listen to advisors, just like he said. But that's the thing about what you said about Fauci and others. Like anybody who's getting in front of a microphone, generally, that at that level, at those levels, are listening to like a panel of experts on whatever decision they're discussing or speaking on. The issue was obviously, 45 was just pulling out his ass of experts and putting people on hood that had no business being over there. But, we're not talking about that right now.
Oh, gosh, man.
Oh, man. All right. Final quick take. There was an article published not too long ago in SciArchive. It was published in February, I think. It's SciArchive is like archive, but for psych papers, or like bioarch. Is that what bioarchive?
These are preprints, right? These are
and commissioned by the Lancet, so it's rigorous. Although
probably
there's been
legit.
a bunch of rigorous, in air quotes, I say this, research published that has been debunked. But the general findings are that mental health outcomes have been pretty much restabilized. In the early parts of the pandemic, they went up, but they have restabilized to pre-pandemic levels, according to this paper, which I will link inside the podcast description.
What do you mean by like they went up? Like, have they gotten better, or what was the effect?
Well, they went up. Outcomes meaning like anxiety and depression symptoms, and these are probably all surveys, but then information from when they published this, so this was like in February, says that it came back to like pre-pandemic levels. So, I mean, I don't, this is one paper, this is one sort of analysis, but it's a much different, conclusion than what is the general like understanding of mental health. We pretty much all have been doom and gloom. I was at one point, even though I even was still like at some point was like, I think we've probably been we've been stronger than we have been harmed, but that was one of the early takes in the podcast or in the Coronavirus Chronicles, which we haven't even mentioned that this is Coronavirus Chronicles number 6. Go ahead and check it out in the feed 1 through 5. 5 was hella late.
So what you're saying is that the field of psychology got some new information, and then did they then put out like some kind of findings on like how that shit changed and affected people differently than from what happened before?
What spokesperson in our field is on television every fucking day talking about this and that? Don't wear a mask. You don't wear a mask. Don't get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. Don't wear a mask. Don't go to Las Vegas.
Mental health.
The streets is asking about coronavirus. They're not asking about mental health like that.
Oh, really?
Yo, there's mental health spokesmen. Don't flex like they're not. And also, you could be that guy, Tunde. Why don't sell yourself?
Dr. Phil, Tunde. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil.
All right, this podcast does not support Dr. Phil,
bro.
We do support other people who come out and speak about mental health concerns, like Naomi Osaka and fucking
don't even get
Simone
started,
Biles, all types of other athletes.
What about y'all seen that one interview that one chick had? Something Richardson.
Oh, Sha'Carri Richardson.
Sha'Carri Richardson.
I don't think I've seen it.
I didn't see it
after she lost. Oh my god!
No, that was a race after. Olympics.
And she came in dead last, and it wasn't even like it was close.
Was she actually running? She was just fucking around.
Well,
she was running, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah, but she wasn't right. Like she's way faster.
The people she lost to also won gold. It was the Jamaican team. I mean,
but she wasn't.
But the Jamaicans were moving.
Yeah, I mean, she was running up against like the gold medalists and second. I mean, yeah, she wasn't like she was running against scrubs, but I mean, she just didn't run right. But anyway, then afterwards, she was like, they were interviewing her. She was like on some hype shit. She was like, I know everybody count me out. I ain't going nowhere. Like, y'all talk shit and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going no fucking where. Something like that. I was just like, she turned too up, man. She was way too turned up on that. I kind of felt bad for her because, you know, they're going to be like, oh, she's just really hood and it's going to affect her image and all this stuff. I think it's going to be bad. But, I mean, I hope she can, you know, I think it's performance. If she comes back out and she starts crushing it, she puts that energy into her running, it's good. But I was kind of embarrassed for her, man. I can't lie. I was trying to support her and say, like, yeah, man, fuck that whole weed stuff. Like, weed is legal in most of the country. Like, what are you talking about? How are you going to hold that against her? But then she came out and did this. I was like, eesh. I'm going to have to keep my support on the tuck, man.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go watch that interview.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. I feel bad for her because she's young, too. She's like 19, 20. Like, so, yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's a lot of pressure on her. I can understand that, but somebody should have talked to her for the leg on the camera, man. They should have talked to her.
Well, yeah, I mean, she was speaking her truth, man. You know, that there's something to that resiliency of like, okay, I lost, but I still, you know, have this self-confidence. I think that's true. Still very important and should be saluted. But yeah, I mean, you know, we want the best for all our listeners and friends and family and athletes and whatnot and all the people we watch on TV and root for, you know, but it is what it is, man.
Fuck that shit. I don't want the best for nobody. No vaccines. Fuck all that. We all getting COVID.
You heard it here first.
I'm playing. All right, let me just go ahead and set the record straight. I am full pro-vaccine. I believe that the arguments are nuanced. We have to think methodically about these things, which I know he thinks 95% of the nation is not capable of. But
I don't say that. I don't think they're not capable. I think they just don't have the skills. Like, we didn't have the skills
really,
when we were kids
that's
either.
not the same thing. Not having the skills and not being capable is not the same thing.
Because I think capability is something you can. Well, okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's a connotation thing. Like, when I hear capability, I think that, like, even if you taught them, then they wouldn't be able to do it anyway. They're just too dumb. I'm not saying that. I just think they just haven't developed those skills. I don't think we had those skills in the beginning. Like, we were interested, and then we built those skills from trial and error and doing a bunch of random stuff. Like, I just don't think that the other people have done that.
Yeah, I still make a lot of bad decisions. Let's be real. You know, we all still, you know, regardless of how good we are at this fucking decision making and assessing data and information and shit, bro, I'm still drafting wrong in fantasy. I don't even want to talk about it right now, but god damn it, my team put 61 points. I lost 2 points. I'm sorry for the listeners. I know we're getting the fuck out of here.
Your whole team
I lost 2 points in
points,
adjustments, bro. I'm fucking pissed. Aaron Rodgers, what the fuck, bro? Are you point shaving? Do you want to fucking
Jones?
Yes, and Aaron Jones. They're both about to be hosting.
I was gonna pick up Aaron Jones, dude. You took him before me. I was so pissed. I was actually it was 2 a.m. in Dubrovnik.
Well, you picked him first round, Herschel?
Yeah, he picked the first round. It was first round. I was gonna pick him.
I definitely would
because he went down. You actually went down a couple spots based on like the rankings, and I was so pissed because I was like, I was gonna pick him up. I yelled. I was like, "Fucking Herschel!" And then I didn't realize it was a blessing in disguise.
God damn, ain't no rhyme or reason to this fantasy shit, man. So,
bro, my team is crushing it, bro. 167.
This is the first time.
No, we're ending the podcast. We're ending the podcast. The podcast is over. The last couple things I wanted to say about the vaccine is what from what Tunde said, just to wrap this all up. Yo, about 58%, probably more now since I looked up this statistic, of the U.S. is fully vaccinated, which is fucking amazing in about 8 or 9 months. Let's be real. In general, like Democrats and others and just scientists in general have been, I feel, over optimistic about how we were going to get people to adhere to this. Let's be fucking real. To have that many of, like, yes, to have herd immunity is going to have to be much, much higher. But like, this is an absolute win for science and vaccines. It just sucks that there are mutations and life continues. Like, there's always going to be some new shit. So sorry, not sorry, but hey, we're doing okay.
I mean, other countries are doing better, sadly, but yes, we're doing okay. We're not doing great. I think that's a fair assessment, Herschel. So yeah, I support that. We're doing okay.
Well, that is the podcast, Coronavirus Chronicles Part 6. I was not sure. I was not sure if like how long exactly the Chronicles would exist, but from what I can tell, it's going to be forever. So tune in for Coronavirus Chronicles number 7 coming to your fucking feed soon.
Listen up.
Hot takes forever. RTBTH. Any last words?
Yeah.
Peace.